What's up, guys? Ricky here. Do you love Most Valuable Podcasts? And are you like myself where things that you like, you just have to let people know because they've got to be on your t-shirt at all times? If you do, you're in luck because we got Most Valuable Podcast t-shirts. You've probably seen myself, Dave, Mark, Sean, Brandon. You might have seen us wearing these t-shirts in videos. The good thing is now you can get your hands on one too. How do you do so? First off, send us an email, mostvaluablepodcast@gmail.com. Give us your name, your size, your address. We will then send you an invoice through Square. That's how you'll pay for it, $22 per shirt. And then after we get the money, we will send you a great Most Valuable Podcast t-shirt for you to wear so you can tell everybody that you love listening to Most Valuable Podcast. So go check it out. The directions are also in the description. What are you waiting for? We got the shirts just for you. But Mark, let's move on into our next topic. And we're going through now, this is what, 11 through 21. So we add a pick for these additional two because, you know, the NFL has 32 teams. That's the only thing I say, like on the NBA ones. The one thing I love about the NBA mock drafts is it's 10-10-10. 30 teams, you go 10-10-10. For us, we have 32. So we got to add that extra team. But some people go, hey, man, you getting a free team?
Only 30 teams are in the first round. It just happens that there's 32 picks.
Are you saying that the last two picks are basically the second round?
No, the Browns and the Bills both have 2 picks.
Oh, okay. That's what you're basically saying. 30
you were
teams,
thinking too far into it.
I was thinking, like, what, are they basically second round picks because they're right by the second round? But
they could be.
You're right.
Enough.
The Texans and the Chiefs are
left
not
out
in the first round. But before we get into what we were talking about at the end of the last segment, let's go through 11 through 21. I'll let you go first. Started off the Dolphins at 11. Who are they taking?
So Dolphins going with Vita Vea, defensive tackle out of Washington. The Bills getting Josh Rosen, quarterback, UCLA. Deron Payne, defensive tackle out of Alabama. Roll Tide. Going to the Redskins here. Now, the Packers are going to get Cortland Sutton, wide receiver, SMU. Baker Mayfield going to the Cardinals, quarterback out of Oklahoma. Ravens are going to get Mike McGlinchey, the offensive tackle out of Notre Dame. Now, going over to the Chargers, they're going to take Billy Price, the center, the Ohio State University. The Seahawks are going to re-up the Legion of Boom with Tremaine Edmonds. Somehow he's still there. Outside linebacker, defensive end, pass rush, whatever. Virginia Tech. Cowboys with Derwin James, safety out of Florida State. Then the Lions getting Josh Jackson, the cornerback out of Iowa. Finally, the Bengals, Orlando Brown, tackle, Oklahoma.
And the one thing, before we get into the Bills, because that's who we're going to start with, the Dolphins, to me, that Vita Vea pick is now crystal clear. Like, if he's there, you get rid of Ndamukong Suh, get yourself a Vita Vea. Like, it seems like a perfect marriage for the Dolphins. But
now watch, they're going to surprise us and draft a quarterback.
Like a quarterback. But little side note before we get to the Bills. Looking back, like, that Ndamukong Suh thing is now a failure, right? With how much money they paid him?
Yeah.
Because they got, if my memory is not wrong, they got him in free agency, right? They didn't get him in a trade.
Huge contract. Huge contract.
And now they're it's not like a, hey, goodbye, you're on with your contract. You're releasing him now.
It's going to be very interesting to see what ends up happening in the rest of his career. Well, he's going to go to the Patriots.
Yeah, go to the Patriots on a cheap deal.
I'm thinking of like because he was so high profile.
And now he's not.
And now he's, we forget about him.
He's that fall of grace, man.
Throw him off. You know, it's going to be very interesting to think about what happens the rest of his career. Can he kind of get back to that kind of early career high level?
It's different when you got yourself and Nick Fairley, and then you go to the Dolphins. I know they had Cameron Wake and stuff, but he didn't have that dominant guy right next to him like he did with Nick Fairley, I would say, with the Lions. But let's go to what we were really going to go into, and that is the Bills. So
you got yours still.
At the end of, that's right, my picks. That's what I'm going with. Thank you. I would have went right through my picks and would have just went. That's how much I want to talk about the Bills. But quickly going through my picks, number 11, the Dolphins, Vita Vea, defensive tackle out of Washington. The Buffalo Bills going Josh Rosen, the quarterback out of UCLA. The Redskins at 13 going Marcus Davenport, the defensive end out of UTSA. The Packers going Josh Jackson, cornerback from the Iowa Hawkeyes. Cardinals go Cortland Sutton, wide receiver from SMU. Ravens go Rashaan Evans, the inside linebacker from Alabama Roll Tide. The Derwin James, the safety from Florida State, going to the Chargers at 17. Seahawks go Orlando Brown, kind of up in that, hey, we're building around Russell Wilson now, getting him some protection. Offensive tackle, Oklahoma. Cowboys going Calvin Ridley, wide receiver, Alabama. Lions go Harold Landry, pass rusher from BC. Bengals go Mike McGlinchey, the offensive tackle from Notre Dame. And then that rounds out. I almost went right into the next pick.
You love the Bills. You love them.
Stop and wait for the Bills for the next one. But let's start with the Bills because that's kind of the part B to our part A. Probability that they are the team that trades up from 12 to 3. And were you, as soon as you heard that they were making a deal with the Bengals, were you like, oh, who did I hear? I think it was Peter King, I think it was, on the Dan Patrick show, said, yeah, I don't think they're done moving. Do you think the Bills are not done moving in this draft?
I think they don't want to be done moving, yes. But it's all going to come down to that trade partner, and it's the hard thing, whether it's a team. Because really, I look at it and I think it almost has to be the Colts. Yeah.
The Giants, I don't think it will be, but it could be them. It could be the Giants.
I think for the Bills, they would probably call the Giants to say, to see if they can get them out, because then at least they have the second choice.
Yeah.
Because there's a very real chance the Giants are going to draft a quarterback. Now, at the same time, you might not want to tip your hand to them and tell them that you are interested, so they go, yep, we got to take a quarterback now. But, because with the Browns, the Broncos, the Jets, that trifecta right there, you got to skip ahead of it or somehow convince one of those teams to trade with you. To pass on the quarterback and go. Because
that's
from
why
there,
it's number 3 at the Colts.
Bucks to Dolphins, none of those teams are drafting a quarterback.
The Dolphins could.
I doubt they will, but it's possible.
I doubt it too, but you look at the other, besides me and you look at the Todd McShays, you look at the Mel Kiper, I believe. I know Todd McShay before had Josh Rosen going there, and I was like, I kind of get it. What has Tannehill proved? And he was injured last year. But to me, I go, the Dolphins don't need a quarterback. Ryan Tannehill is enough of a starter to be good, and let's see what he can actually do with Adam Gase. Because we didn't get to see that because he got injured in the offseason, and he never played a regular season game with Adam Gase. That's why, to me, I agree with you, but the Dolphins could go quarterback. It's not completely out of the picture.
So I definitely think it's a very real possibility they do trade up, but it's a costly thing to do. They definitely put themselves in the position to do it. Because if you're going from, 21? Yeah, 21 from all the way up to 3, that's a big trade. It's possible, but it's a big trade. That's going to cost you a lot. Moving from 12 to 3, it's a little more doable in that case. So I definitely think they are the ones to do it. But at the flip side, if they can weather the storm, unfortunately, you got to take the gamble on whether you do it first because you don't get to see the Browns, Broncos, Jets. But if one of those two teams, or maybe two of them, don't take a quarterback, you're sitting pretty then. The odds of you being able to get that other quarterback, hopefully it's one you like, it's going to be pretty strong. But for the Bills, they've had so many quarterback woes that I think they have to go and get their guy.
Now, if I'm the Bills, I am hoping that they go ahead and trade for the number 3 overall pick. Because even if, let's say in my draft, how I have it, let's say Josh Allen does go number 2 to the New York Giants. I am working with the Colts to get a deal done, making it so that I can go at 3 and get whatever quarterback I want. Because let's say in this situation, yeah, Josh Rosen is a good quarterback, but what if he's not the guy that the Bills want? What if the Bills want a Sam Darnold? What if they want a Baker Mayfield? They can go ahead and make that choice.
But the hard thing is, they might still have to just take whoever's there. There's a very real possibility, and this is why it's such a gamble, that you trade up to number 3, and suddenly the Browns go, oh, now there's 2 teams that might take a quarterback before we get our pick. And the Giants are then going to say, all right, well, there's a little bit more pressure on us, Nothing they could do. I mean, what are they going to do in that case? Trade with the Jets or something like that? Trade with the Broncos? But anyways, so you might have a real possibility of something that only ever really happens in mock drafts of quarterback. Is it going to happen? No. So don't yell at me in the comment section. But you have an actual possibility of, if the Bills trade up, maybe a Broncos trade up, maybe a Jets trade up with the Giants to try and do it. And all of a sudden, if these happen before draft day, the Browns go, damn, well, there goes our running back quarterback plan.
Mm-hmm.
Although actually they might still be able to do it and just flip it in the opposite direction in that case. Take the quarterback first and then get their running back. If, let's say, the Jets trade with the Giants and the Bills trade to the Colts.
Now, the thing I'm doing right now is kind of what we talked about with the Colts, but now I'm actually using the Bills because we have that kind of situation. Really, it depends on what next year's pick will be, because basically if you're the Colts, you got to think, all right, we're giving you a quarterback. It's kind of like the Browns gamble. All right, Houston, we're giving you a quarterback. What are you going to, like, yeah, that first round pick is us, but we don't know where it's going to be. Mm-hmm. We don't know. Like, if Deshaun Watson didn't get hurt, that Texan pick could have been a playoff pick. Like, it could have been a third segment pick, and we're not talking about them 2 in the top 5. But that's not the case, and we're talking about them where we are talking about them, and I'm just going with their first and their first third, which is now the 65th pick, which used to be the the Cleveland pick. It's not enough of a value to me. You would need for, if they think, okay, top 10's a little bit high, let's say if it's even a top 20 pick, yeah, you would need that pick to be at least 22, I believe, for next year for it to have the similar value. If you are the Colts, are you making a deal where you're giving up your third pick and you're getting the 12th overall, next year's first, and the 65th overall pick, which is the first pick of the third round?
I'm interested in it. If I can get multiple firsts, I'm interested.
Mm-hmm.
And you would have to get multiple firsts, I think, for the Bills to make this move.
Really, to get similar value, to get negative value, you would have to be at 26. To get positive value, you would have that first to be at 25.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be honest, the Bills, with whatever quarterback they draft this year, are probably not going to the playoffs. I'm sorry, Buffalo. So there's a good chance that the Colts make a deal like that and get an extra pick in the third to do whatever they want with. They can take whoever they want. And you get the 12th, like I said, pass rusher-wise, Marcus Davenport could still be there for you. And you get a pick next year. You get 2 picks in the first round. So it's basically, hey, we don't have to suck because our pick can be later, because as long as the Bills suck, we're fine. As long as the Bills are higher than 25 and above, we got good value for that trade.
Yeah, I definitely think it's worthwhile on both sides, for sure. And I can see it happening, but it's really, that would be a huge shakeup for things. If that trade happened, because all of a sudden I'm wondering if the Browns don't take a quarterback number 1 overall. I'm wondering if, then the Giants probably do take Saquon Barkley instead of a quarterback in that case. That's going to change a lot of different things for them, teams like the Broncos and the Bills as well.
Let's move on to the last quarterback team, I would say, of this first round. There's a possibility the Saints do it. Just spoiler alert, I don't see it. Or do I? Let me see. No, spoiler alert, I do see that. So the Cardinals, I almost had them go Lamar Jackson here. I almost did, because Sam Bradford, yeah, he's their quarterback. I know they got the Ginger Giraffe too, but are you competent in having those 2 guys and not drafting a rookie this year? I almost said, hey, you know what, go with Lamar Jackson. Even if he doesn't start this year, you have a quarterback. But then in the end, I'm like, you know what? Let's get Cortland Sutton. Let's get Fitzgerald's replacement before he's gone.
Yeah, these are 2 guys that are ready for retirement, I think, and they're just making their way down to Arizona to begin with. No, but I mean, you look at it, and Sam Bradford...
Well, the Ginger Giraffe just wanted a uniform that matches...
the rest of them.
The rest of him, yeah.
I think that, Sam Bradford is a good quarterback. No one's going to say he's not. He just can't stay healthy.
He's injured.
It's as simple as that. He just can't stay healthy. I mean, that's why we made fun of you guys when you guys drafted him for our
first year.
For
that first year with the Vikings, it's like, wow, he actually looked really good, and he stayed healthy the whole year.
Yep.
Next year, he's injured.
Exactly.
I mean, good thing we had Case Keenum this past year, but Sam Bradford got injured again.
Yep. And Sam Bradford easily can do the same thing. I mean, I don't see how it's really that different from Carson Palmer. Good quarterback when he's healthy. But he's probably not going to be healthy when you need him. Then you sit there and you got Glennon, and Glennon proved that he's absolutely terrible.
He got beat out by a rookie.
He got beat up by a rookie and lost his job terribly. He was really, 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 really bad.
But he beat the Steelers, though.
Well, I mean, yeah. Steelers like to play down to the other team's level. So it's just one of those weird things. The Bears just beat the AFC North in general. It's just one of those weird things here where it's like neither one of these guys are really that. I mean, it's not that they're not good because of Sam Bradford being actually pretty good. It's just that neither one of these guys are someone who's dependable.
Yeah.
You can't count on either one of these people. So you sit there and you're like, Arizona, if there's a quarterback there, you got to take him. Now,
because you had him go because Baker was there.
Yeah, he's there. If Lamar Jackson was the only quarterback there, no. Lamar Jackson wasn't going to go in my first round. I just don't think he's first-round talent. Could he potentially go? Sure, he could possibly go. The quarterbacks have eaten up all the limelight here. And notice I said quarterbacks, not wide receivers. But, Baker Mayfield, if he's there, I do think the Cardinals need to go for it.
This just popped into my head, so I'll ask it. If the Cardinals sit there at 15, they go, you know what, we really want a quarterback, but I'm not reaching here for a quarterback. Could they trade down at 15? Could they say, hey, let's find a partner that wants something. Let's try to accumulate draft picks. I'll feel comfortable taking a Lamar Jackson in basically for us, the next segment. So the bottom 11 compared to where I'm at 15, like a 27, a 28 pick.
In my situation, Baker Mayfield will be on the board no matter where you are in the first round.
I'm saying if Baker's off and Lamar Jackson's your top quarterback.
No, I still don't think Lamar Jackson is first-round talent. Maybe you could pull to talk about Louisville
like Teddy
quarterbacks.
Bridgewater
Well,
situation.
that's what I was going to say. To talk about Louisville quarterbacks, you trade up with the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles and say, yeah, we just want the fifth-year option.
Or the Patriots, because they always trade back.
Yeah. If you just want that fifth-year option on him, sure, you could do that. And that's basically the second round, right? So I guess you could do it, but
it's second round with a fifth-year option.
Yeah. So it's possible, but for me, if I'm the Cardinals, they've got enough holes on their team that have popped up that, you know what, if I have to have Sam Bradford and hope he's there next year, I may be willing to do that if I'm not reaching for a quarterback.
What about the Packers? What do you think of them? Because right now, like, the moves that they made in between our last podcast and this one, they trade Demarius Randall. They get Deshaun Kaiser from the Browns, like you said,
the starting quarterback,
because Aaron Rodgers went back to the IR.
He's got to
get cut. Why do you have them going wide receiver in Cortland Sutton?
Well, part of me, while I started, I did initially think, from seeing things that happened, and yes, they do have Jimmy Graham, their new tight end.
Because I'll be honest, I almost had them do the same thing as Sutton went a pick below me.
Part of me was kind of hoping, is Calvin Ridley somehow going to make it to the Packers? I thought that would have been very interesting. It didn't happen.
He didn't mind and didn't get drafted.
It didn't happen for mine. He went to the 49ers because the 49ers are another one of those teams that they kind of missed out on some of the top-tier wide receivers. But for me, the Packers, you get rid of Cobb, something I saw coming a mile away. You get rid of Jordy Nelson, I
don't think they've gotten rid of Randall Cobb yet.
Not yet.
Thinking about it.
I'm hoping that by the time this podcast airs, it happens because it makes sense.
12 hours ago, it says that Randall Cobb expected to stay for 2018.
Oh, I'm actually surprised. I thought there was a tweet from Randall Cobb that made it seem like he was expecting to get cut.
He sends a message to Jordy Nelson. That's one of the articles I'm looking at.
So either way, I'm surprised that Randall Cobb is still going to be there for this year, especially with cap reasons. But anyways, with Jordy Nelson being gone, you have room for a wide receiver. You need it. And yes, you do have a Jimmy Graham who is a good pass-catching tight end, but at the same time, he wasn't as instrumental in Seattle as they kind of expected him to be when they got him from New Orleans.
I thought he was going back to the Saints. When I heard he's in talk with the Saints, I'm like, well, that's a done deal. He's going back there. He's going to play with Drew Brees, even though, like, Dave makes a joke during the fantasy year where I traded Jimmy Graham to him, and he gave me Rob Gronkowski. He always makes a joke of, I didn't know Jimmy Graham slept with Drew Brees' wife.
Yep. Exactly.
Because it's like he stopped passing it to Jimmy Graham that year. But that's what I thought. He's just going back to the Saints. Get the boys back in town, man.
You know, the Packers are in this situation where they're clinging on to something. They did not have a ton of cap room. They didn't have enough to really make a lot of moves, but they definitely see the writing on the wall of the
Vikings are taking this division.
It's their division right now. You know, you have a young guy like Mitch Trubisky and a good defense in Chicago.
Bears could be taking that second spot. Not this year, but
in the
next
future.
year.
Yeah, exactly. The Lions are kind of in the middle ground,
We'll
but
see
the
what Patricia
Packers
does.
are falling back. And they need to do something. And they look at this team, they look at the roster and say, what do we have? Well, we have Aaron Rodgers. So they're just going to put weapons around Aaron Rodgers. And you get a guy like Jimmy Graham to be one of those weapons. And then you have to move into the draft because really with the amount of cap space they have, I think it's like $10 million or something like that, they don't really have room to do anything. Well, especially if they're not going to cut Randall Cobb.
Well,
they don't have enough room to actually go get anything or do much else besides depth and sign your rookies.
Well, that's like when Dave and I talked about Richard Sherman. And I was like, oh, man, that would be... Like, I could see him in a Packer uniform. After we recorded that, I was like, well, that ain't going to happen. They don't have enough cap space to make that work. It's going to probably be either like the 49ers or like the dark horse I mentioned, the Lions, that ended up being the 49ers. But no, with the Packers, what I was thinking was I almost had them go Sutton. But then I was like, you know what? They kind of really need a cornerback. They didn't get Richard Sherman. You just traded away Demarius Randall. I mean, this was a guy on my big board stayed put right where he was because of the combine that he had. But let's be honest, the combine only shows you, as long as you're not a red flag, you're not anything to worry about. Like Orlando Brown, they were asking Todd McShay today, like, hey, did he do enough at the pro days? Like, well, he lost 5 pounds in 2 weeks. A little bit faster, did 5 more reps, still a red flag. So it's like, the combine can either hurt you, can't really help you out a whole lot when you're a first-round pick.
Exactly.
But
it helps those third, fourth round
pick guys. It could make like a Shaquem Griffin, like a DJ Chalk kind of a guy. Whereas, like this, you know, I wasn't happy with your combine, but Josh Jackson giving them a shutdown, like, I don't want to say shutdown, but giving them a corner that can say, I'm going to be a ball hawk for you. I had 8 interceptions last year in college. I am going to intercept the ball all day. Kirk Cousins, it don't matter if they got him in Minnesota. I'm taking the ball away from him. Whoever he's thrown to, I'm the one going to be taking that ball. That's the only reason why I went with a Josh Jackson over a Cortland Sutton. What about the Ravens, who kind of lost, like you mentioned a little earlier, lost the wide receiver sweepstakes because they didn't really get anybody. They got, Ryan Grant on a 4-year deal and then Josh Brown on a 1-year deal?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So you wonder if they would take a Cortland Sutton if maybe the Packers, or in your case, the Cardinals, don't get him. You know, you wonder if they would go for somebody, would they then move to the next guy, Christian Kirk? You know, what are they going to do? For me, I had them go with the offensive tackle because my idea is, well, if I don't have the top tier wide receivers, I at least want to protect my quarterback to give him more time to let them get open, to eventually throw the ball. I do find it interesting that the Baltimore Ravens really didn't get that guy that you kind of expected them to have through the wide receiver free agency. They got some wide receivers, but it's not really any of the top tier type of players. They whiff a little bit for it. So it's just very interesting there. For me, with Sutton being off the board, I didn't feel like it was a good value for them to take another wide receiver.
Now, be honest when I asked this question, because I almost had this happen, but I shied away with it because I went defense. How stupid do you think that I don't have Calvin Ridley to the Ravens since he's on my board when the Ravens pick comes up at 16?
If it was me, I would have had Calvin Ridley go to the Ravens. I'll put it that way. It's what I would have done then, if he's there. But defense is good. It's all right.
I was
Ricky.
Right. You know what? A wide, especially when you have, because you get Ryan Grant, you get Josh Brown. These are guys who are kind of like, at the best, to me, they're like B-list wide receivers.
Yeah.
To where, if I'm thinking movie-wise, I'm not going to make that comparison because they were never as great as Bruce Willis was in Die Hard, but it's kind of like you're making the Death Wish movies. Like those are the movies you're in. You're not going to be in the Avengers Infinity War. That's just not your style because you're a B-list wide receiver. And I looked at it and I was like, you know what? They can get a wide receiver later. They can get a Chuck. They can get a DJ. I'm trying to think of his name. DJ Moore, I want to say it is. The kid out of Maryland.
That sounds
They
right.
could get a James Washington if he falls. A guy like, I don't think Adam Lazar is going to be there for him when their next pick goes up, but they can get a wide receiver later, a skills guy later. Yeah, Calvin Ridley, some early on were like, hey, he's the best wide receiver in the draft. Remember when he was mocked to the Bears all day at number 8?
I still think he's the best wide receiver in the draft, but, people have cooled off on him.
I'm starting to like Cortland Sutton a little bit on Calvin Ridley. Not a lot, but just a little bit. I think that Cortland Sutton's going to be a better deep ball threat in the NFL from Calvin Ridley. But the Ravens, I could really see them going. I know neither of us did. I should have probably with Ridley, but they could go wide receiver at 16. The only question is, like in your mock, Ridley and Sutton are gone. What do we do? Do we go with a Lazar this early, a Washington this early, a Kirk this early? No. So they could look to offensive tackle and inside linebacker.
But you can't be surprised if they do, because you definitely have surprise wide receivers that will go in the first round every now and then. So it's definitely possible. And I actually, when you look at our drafts and you look at recent years, it's a little surprising to not have more wide receivers going so far.
Usually we got it. Like, this is probably the first time in a while we haven't mocked a wide receiver in the top, I would say, 8?
Yeah.
The top 7, maybe? Like, usually there's a wide receiver or a team that where it's like, oh, he's going to be the 5th pick in the draft. Or, oh, he's going to be the 3rd pick in the draft.
Exactly.
But this year it was like Calvin Ridley was there at 8, and then it's like it's fallen as of late with the wide receiver. Maybe it was just because how the free agent pool landed out. Like the Bears, how they got all their guys, and then it's like, oh, we don't need to take Calvin Ridley with the 8th pick now. We can go with a Denzel Ward. We can go with a Quentin Nelson. But this is where you guys come in. For this section, let us know what you guys think down below in that comment section. What are the picks that you liked? What didn't you like? What about the teams that we talked a little bit about in this section? Let us know what you guys think down below in the comment section.